Hi there guys, today we're going to have a look at prime factors or prime decomposition, and we're going to see how we can use those to answer lots of different types of questions as well. So simple text would be write the numbers below, or write 60 for example as a product of their prime factors. So you have to understand a few words here. So product, that simply means multiplication. Prime, numbers with only two factors, the number 1 and itself, and so factors is numbers that multiply together to make another number. So 3 words put together, it's not difficult. So for 60, the first thing you've got to do is say, right, I need a times table that makes 60. So I'm going to go with 6 and 10 because any time something ends in a 0, the 10 times table is always a good one to go for. Now I ask myself, is 6 prime? The answer is no, so another 2 branches come off. Is 10 prime? Nope, so another 2 branches come off. So 6, how do we use multiplication? What are some factors that make 6? Well, there's actually only 1 now. I could have used 6 and 1, but if you think about what we're trying to do here and break this number down, if I use 6 and 1, I'm just going to have 6 and then 6 and then 6 and loads of 1s, and I'm never ever going to break it down into primes. So the only times table you're not allowed to use in this is the 1 times table. But both 2 and 3 are prime, so I'm going to circle them because I've reached the end. Same with 10, I have 2 and 5. So what we have to do, just to finish off, we have to say, well, 60 in terms of a product of its primes. Well, I have 2 2's, so I could write 2 times 2. I have a 3, and I have a 5. What I don't want to see is people changing these multiplications to add. I see it all the time. It makes no sense. If you think, if these were adds, you would say 2 add 2, 4, add 3 is 7, add 5 is 12. You're saying 60 equals 12. It's nonsense. Some people put commas. That's crazy as well. We're looking for you to write your answer as a product, okay? And if you do this, let's do it backwards, it's going to be easier. 15, 30, 60. It works. Now, we can write it a little bit more mathematical because the 2 has been repeated. So that is the best answer that you could write for this question. Let's do the same with 24. I'm going to go 8 times 3. It's the first one I thought of. You might have done 12 2s, 6 4s. You can keep going. It doesn't matter. You'll get exactly the same answer at the end. So 3 was prime, so I circled it. 8's not prime, so I'm going to go for 2 and 4, the only option I had. 2 is prime, the only even prime number. And 4 is 2 and 2. Okay, so this time 24 is equal to 2 repeated 3 times 3. Okay, so we can break numbers down into prime factors. Well, why is this useful? Well, for 2 reasons. The first one, it's useful for identifying square numbers. So what I'd love you to do is try and look for a pattern here. So pause the video, and what do all of these square numbers have in common? Okay. Hopefully you've had a little think about that, maybe had some good ideas, but basically it's all to do with the powers. So 36 and 144 are slightly different because there's 2 different base values, but there is something common to all of these powers, and that is that they're even. Okay, square numbers always have an even index value, an even power. Okay, so is this a square number? Well, no, this is not a square number because this is not even. This would be a square number, okay, because they're both even. So if I change that one to a 4, it's now a square. The one on the right, well, that's even, that is a square number. I'm just going to type that into my calculator because I have no idea what it is. So 2 to the power of 6 is 64 times 25 is 1,600, and if you square root that, you get 40. Okay, so that was, but I don't need to work it out. I don't have to square root it to see. I'm just looking at the powers. They're both even. It's a square. So we could ask you questions like this. 22,050 is written like so. Sometimes we actually give you the prime decomposition. What is the smallest number I can multiply 22,050 by to turn it into a square number? Okay, you just have to look at the powers here. So that's even, so I don't need to change it. That's even. This one's an odd. So I need to change that to a 2 to make it the smallest. I could change it to an 8 if I wanted to, but that would be a square number, but not the smallest I could multiply it by. So actually, I just need to times this by 2. So 2 squared times 3 squared times 5 squared times 7 squared is a square number because they're all even. I've got another one. So what do we have to times 978,285 by to get the next square number? Well, this is even, so I don't need to change the 7's, but the 3 and the 5 are both to power 1, so I need another 3, I need another 5, and that needs to go up by 1 as well. I can't ever go down, obviously, that's division, so I need another 11. So 15 times 11, oh, my favourite times table. Write the 1, write the 5, add them up, pop it in the middle. 165. So that's why they're useful, really, for identifying square numbers. And it's also useful for identifying whether a fraction is terminating or recurring, but that's for another video. But we use prime factors for that too. Okay, so the main reason we do this is to answer questions on the highest common factor and the lowest common multiple. And this is the one we had earlier, so I'm not going to go through how we got those again. But what we do is we draw some Venn diagrams. Now what you need to do is make sure this overlap in the middle here is quite large, because you're going to be writing things in there. Okay, so we just have to look and say, right, this common ground, what's common to both of these? Well, they both have 2 squared in, so I'm going to put 2 squared. They both have a 3. But what else has 60 got? Well, 60 has got 2 squared and a 3. That's already there. Ah, it's got a 5. What about 24? Is there anything missing from 24? Yeah, there's a 2. Now it's 2 times 2 times 2. And a 3. So the next bit is really simple. So the highest common factor. Now factors are smaller than the numbers we start off with. Okay, so the smallest bit is this overlap. So what we're going to do for the highest common factor, we look at this overlap and we multiply everything together. So 4 times 3 is 12. So 12 is the highest factor of 60 and 24. You could have listed all of the factors and looked at that, but when these numbers get large, you often miss them, so it's easier to do with the prime decomposition and a Venn. Now multiples, so if you think of multiples of 60, that's a 60 times table. They're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, same with the multiples of 24. So the numbers are going to be big, so what we have to do is include everything. So we're going to now multiply everything in here. So to do this, you could do 5 times 3 times 2 times 2 times 2. Or you can be a bit smart about it. Because we have to multiply all of them together, I know this circle here is equal to 60. So all I actually have to do is 60 times 2. That will multiply all of those numbers together because all of these 4 multiplied together is 60. I could have done 24 times 5. That's harder for me. So I'm just going to write this. So it's 2 cubed times 3 times 5. That's all the numbers there. But I'm actually going to do 60 times 2, which is 120. Let's do another one of those. Bigger numbers, you see. So we might ask you to break them down first, but I'm being nice for this video. Quite often actually on the GCSE they are nice. Okay, so what's going in the middle? So they've got a 3 squared. That's pretty much it. So 945 has another 3, has a 5 and a 7. And the 198 has a 2 and an 11. So the highest common factor, factors are small, so we're looking at the middle bit only. That's 9. Yeah, everything in here multiplied together. Don't suddenly start adding stuff, please. We're looking at factors and multiples. Lowest common multiple, well, that's everything multiplied together. So that's going to be a little bit harder. So I could do 945 times 2 then times 11. Or I could do 198 times 3 times 5 times 7. Or I could go and times them all. If I'm going to times them all, I'm just going to underline these in orange. I would leave those two till last because that's a 10 and I can easily add a 0. But I'm going to do 945 on my calculator, times that by 22 because 2 11s are 22. That's the quickest way I can do that. and I'm going to get an answer of 20,790. Okay, well, what about if there's three numbers? Well, then we have a three-way. So, a three-way looks like that. So we have 24, 60, and 150. Now, if you attempt this but you put them in a different order, you're going to get the same answer but just a different orientation. Well, what's going in the middle? Is there anything common to all three? All three have got a 2. All three have a 3. Then you have to just do 2 at a time. So 24 and 150, top and bottom. Well, actually, what do they share? Just 1, 2, and we've already got that in here. They also share a 3, but we've also already got that, and that's it. So there's actually nothing going to go in here. Let's do the 60 and 150. So they both share a 2, it's already in. They both share a 3, that's already in. But they both share a 5, so we can put 5 in there. 24 and 60. Okay, so they both share a 2, but they actually both share 2 2s. So I need to put another 2 in there because we've already got 1. And they both share a 3, we've already got that. So, then you just have to look one at a time now. So 24, but that is 2 cubed times 3. I need another 2. Now I've got 3 2s and 1 3. 60, I need 2 2s. I've got that. I need a 3 and a 5. I've already got that. So essentially there's nothing in there, so I'm just going to do that. 150, I need a 2. I've got it. In here I need a 3. I have that as well. And in here I need 2 5s. I've already got 1. Here's another. Here we have it. So just like before, the highest common factor, factors being smallest, we're looking at where everything is shaded in. Okay, everything overlaps, sorry, that bit there. So that is going to be 2 times 3, 6. The lowest common multiple is, once again, just everything shaded. It's not the same as timesing everything here, because you're ignoring the fact there's overlaps. So by doing this, you get all the numbers you need to multiply. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to do 60 times 10, because there's a 2 and a 5 there. So that's 600. Which means 24 is a factor of 600. 60 is a factor of 600. 150 is a factor of 600, but it's also the lowest common multiple. So for example, 1200 would also be a multiple of all three of those, but it's not the lowest. And that was the question. Okay, so just time to practice now, guys. Best of luck.